Any story that begins with a library is bound to be an excellent tale. I smiled as I weaved my way down the narrow corridors of Biltmore's servants' halls, careful to keep myself hidden from the newly arrived guests. My mother's quote ushered my feet into a faster pace. There were many pleasures in working in the illustrious estate house, but none rivaled seeing the expressions of guests as they stepped over the threshold into Biltmore's library for the first time, into my territory. The main second-floor sitting room stood vacant as I peered around the doorway from the servants' corridor. Early morning stillness blanketed the room like the sunlight through the tall eastern-facing windows of the grand stairwell, giving the dim passageway a sleepy golden hue. Nothing stirred, not one movement. Gripping my skirt, I dashed down the hallway and around the corner, finally disappearing into the darkness of the secret staircase. I could have used myriad other entrances to the library, of course, but this one was my favorite, more intimate and special. Every morning, I would find my way to the secret staircase behind the massive marble fireplace and begin taking care of the library. It was mine, so to speak, mine to dust and organize and present with as much pride as each of the 10,000 book spines commanded from the 2-story shelves surrounding the room. It was due to Mother that I obtained such a coveted position as the bookmaid. Mr. and Mrs. Vanderbilt had been kind enough to allow me to assume her position when she grew too ill to manage it, and I would not take the opportunity for granted. How could I? I was entrusted with a page-ridden wonderland. Few people appreciated such an appointment as I did. Books breathed to me. I emerged from the shadowed staircase into the massive room that woke with morning light, like something from a fairy story. My gaze immediately moved to a shelf to my left that held some Brothers Grimm, Anderson, and even MacDonald, though most of the fairy tale stories were scattered throughout the rest of the house, also under my care. The host of characters from Pellegrini's enormous painting stared down from their clouded perch on the ceiling, as if watching the movements of the room from heaven itself. Sometimes I felt like them, wondering how the stories on the shelves might match or impact the stories of the lives stepping into the room. It was a fascinating study, a beloved pastime, and a welcome entertainment for a servant who loved books and lived to be invisible. Stories held power, and everyone told one, whether the characters within the story knew it or not. I'd only served in my position for 9 months, gratefully pulled from the kitchens, so I hadn't carved out the time to read every volume, but one day I'd know each one on these shelves. My gaze took inventory of the enormous space, viewing the rows and rows of wonderfully symmetrical adventures, romances, histories, and dozens of other genres waiting for a new reader's perusal. Duster in hand, I started for the shelf I'd ended on the day before, when footsteps from below paused my feet. There was nowhere to hide except the cornered shadow between the bookshelf and upper part of the 2-story window curtain draping with heavy red cloth to the story below. I dashed for the spot and slipped down behind the balcony railing, hoping the shadows and my black dress kept my presence concealed. Of course, the wealthy were raised to ignore servants, which should only help my cause, though the Vanderbilts broke such aristocratic expectations on a regular basis. Mr. Vanderbilt had even stooped to help me retrieve a stack of books I dropped when he accidentally opened a door in my way once. Luckily, my place in the corner gave me a perfect view of the guests' entrance into the library, and the newest arrivals did not disappoint.